Well, decades ago, we took it for granted, didn't we? You know, Miss England contest, whatever it was, all these beauty pageants. And yes, you know, it was girls wearing bikinis and swimsuits, and nobody, it seemed to me, had any great problem with it. But that, and maybe page 3 of The Sun, and many other things, and we've had some rather different views over the course of the last few years. But it's a debate that somehow never, ever goes away, whether it's the grid girls on Formula One or whatever it is. You know, are these events where women are seen in bikinis, are these things we should celebrate, be happy about, think are joyous, or are they, as many would tell us, simply male objectification of women and potentially quite abusive? Now, it's a debate that's gone on as long as I can remember, as long as I've lived. But there is talk that the Miss England contest will now go back to the bikini. Well, let's start here with Dr. Bhasha Mukherjee, NHS doctor and Miss England 2019. Now, Bhasha, you have pretty strong views that we shouldn't be going back to bikinis. Why?
I actually think we should be.
You should be?
Yes.
OK.
Because I think that we're living in a very different time now. And we want to move away from female bodies being seen as from the perspective of male gaze and more rather the celebration of womanhood. Even when I participated in Miss England a few years ago, the picture of the girls that were all taking part was very different. And over the years, it's changed so much with different body types, plus-size women, women of different heights, different colour skin, and so much diversity has come through. And we really must change the idea of what looks good in a bikini or what looks good in swimwear. And it's not really about the sexualisation of women's body, but really what women's body is, it's more the confidence element of it and celebrating women's bodies in all the shapes that it comes in.
And should we, whilst we're doing this, be defining what a woman is? Well,
here's the thing. I think it's down to the choice, and that's what the competition is about. All the different rounds in the competition are by choice. It's not something that you do not get through to this round if you do not take part in this round. It's not like that. The emphasis has always been for Miss England and Miss World on beauty with a purpose. And actually, it's always been the strongest element of the competition, which is why, I mean, I was very surprised when I won myself. I did not think the people I was competing with, even in the top 5, looked very different from me. And the only thing I was holding on to was, I guess, my beauty with a purpose. And
OK, well, that's a very modern interpretation of how we would choose Miss England compared to the 1970s or the 1980s. Helena Frith-Powell, author and journalist.
Yeah.
I mean, what was wrong? What was wrong with very beautiful girls appearing in bikinis?
I don't think anything was wrong with it. I mean, I think we're in agreement. I think what's wrong now is that the choice is being taken away. People are saying, you should not be strutting around in a bikini or a swim costume. That's demeaning. Well, why are you telling me what's demeaning for me? If I want to show myself off on stage, I think that's my right. And so I think it's... what's wrong is just people dictating what we should think.
Yeah, and boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing, you know, where the girls went round the ring with the, you know, round 5 and round 6 and grid girls on Formula One. I mean, I personally have no problem with any of it, but this is seen somehow to be demeaning to women, objectification of women, the sexualisation of women. Is it really?
My theory is that if you go into a beauty competition, you're being judged on the way you look. OK, I totally agree with Beauty with a Purpose. I think that also Miss World, they do a very good job of making sure the girls are well-rounded and everything. But I do think that if you are being judged in a beauty pageant, you're being judged on your looks. And so, you know, your looks are there for display. And if you enjoy showing off your body and your looks. I think what was really sad was there was a girl called Katrina Hodge, who was Miss England, who felt that she was sort of basically bullied into this campaign against showing girls in swimming costumes, and she said she felt that she was being a bad feminist for enjoying being on stage in a swimming costume, and that's surely...
Which has to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bhasha, you know, one of the big rows that's going on in society now, and it's going on particularly in sport, is this whole trans issue, and I sort of touched on this earlier. You know, can you define what a woman is? Can a woman have a penis? It sounds ludicrous to me, and yet, you know, the leader of the Liberal Democrats said, well, obviously, yes. The leader of the Labour Party clearly doesn't even want to debate the question. I mean, would you think that a trans competitor should be allowed in a Miss England contest?
Oh, it's a very political question.
But it is the question of the day, isn't it?
I'm a woman of science, and
Yeah.
I'm very much, I very much view the world in the science. And the way we define anything in science in general is by what majority of a particular species have in common, or majority of something has in common. And I think the large majority of the population, if you was to define it as men versus female or trans, the majority of women have a certain number of criteria that they have to meet to be classified as a woman, as a female, when they're being defined at birth.
It's fairly obvious what they are, isn't it?
Yeah, so on that note, I see, yes, of course, I understand very clearly what it means to be a woman, because that's my lived experience. Whereas I think I've never been, obviously, in the shoes of someone who's trans, and I'm sure it's a whole different experience in itself. And I don't think there needs to be any merging of the categories, because it is a category in itself. I think it's a very different experience, experiencing difficulties in defining which gender you really are in, which is not my lived experience. So it's difficult to say that my womanhood is the same as their womanhood.
So let me ask the question again. Should somebody who's trans be able to compete in a Miss England contest?
Well, I think it's that there are pageants for those categories as well, for trans categories.
So a different category?
Yes, I think so.
All right, no,
Because
that's
it
an
takes
answer.
away.
Helena, how would you respond to that?
I don't think they look very good in a swimming costume.
Well, that is a purely subjective judgment.
No, I don't think they should. Just in the same way that they shouldn't be allowed to compete in women's swimming competitions, women's cycling competitions, etc., etc. I think that this is another very anti-feminist move.
And this is the interesting thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? This is the interesting thing, that actually it's not women appearing in bikinis that is actually damaging women's rights. It's this, and you can call yourself actually what the hell you want to call yourself.
Yeah.
But biology...
But don't impose.
Biology, I think, is a...
It's taking away from women's opportunities, because Miss England is not just about being on stage. It gives these girls massive opportunities in the world of various different fields. I mean, the current Miss England, she's an aerospace engineer, and she's trying to get women into STEM fields.
Yeah, no, I get it. We've moved it on from what it was, but we still, I think most people want to see very beautiful women. Thank you very much indeed for coming on and debating that, and doing it in a civilised fashion. You see, it's possible to debate these tough issues in a civilised way. Now, I have got time for a couple of Barrage the Farages, so here goes.